This week, I've come to Britain's south coast to investigate the intricate balance between preserving the stunning natural beauty and managing threats posed by erosion and flood risk.
I've been up and down the country, exploring the rich tapestry of Britain's coasts.
That is absolutely stunning.
From Blackpool to Skegness, and everywhere in between. Join me as I document it all. This is By the Sea.
There are two types of coastal defences. The first is hard engineering, which uses resistant materials such as concrete, boulders, metal and wood. Now, these strategies are typically very expensive and have a large visual impact on the coast, but are long-lasting and effective.
Here at Brighton, hard engineering has been vital in securing the shingled beaches, which make the city one of the UK's most popular tourist destinations. The area thrives off the visitor economy, with tourism contributing over £900 million per year to the local economy. Therefore, it's important that these stunning beaches be kept as they are.
The first coastal defence is constructed with these groins, which interrupt the process of longshore drift and cause sediment to accumulate on the beach. As you can see, one side has a much higher shingle line than the other. These groins have been extremely effective in widening the coastline, and in some places have widened it by approximately 100 metres since their construction in the 18th century.
However, pressures from climate change have meant that new defences are being built, with the first wave of construction having begun in the summer of 2023.
Whilst the defences here have proven to be extremely effective for Brighton, they have certainly caused problems down the coast. I've come to the charming seaside town of Peacehaven, where rapid erosion has caused serious problems for residents.
A lack of sediment reaching this stretch of coast has meant that these cliffs are fully exposed to the waves. In some places, the edge of the cliff is just 3 meters from the promenade road.
In 1976, a major coastal defence project began in the form of this reinforced concrete seawall and concrete groins across the wave-cut platform. Now, these groins were built partly to interrupt longshore drift and partly to act as an obstacle to oncoming waves. Another hard engineering strategy was also used here, known as cliff fixing. The cliffs were cut back from their original near vertical angle to a more stable 70 to 80 degree incline. Now, particularly unstable cliffs can be fixed by driving metal bars into the cliff face, but that wasn't needed here.
In the end, the project cost nearly £5 million. Most of this went towards the seawall, as seawalls can cost up to £7,000 per metre. In particularly stormy areas, seawalls can be recurved, which reflects the wave energy and breaks incoming waves before they can reach the wall. The seawall not only provides opportunities for fishermen at high tide, but has also become a popular walking route for tourists and locals. This area is seeing rising sea levels combined with increased storm surges, and local authorities have responded by repairing the seals between the blocks of the sea wall.
Whilst many initially argued for this area to be abandoned, the cost of building the defences was justified by the potential expense of rehousing and relocating everyone in this rapidly growing town.
Other hard engineering strategies include revetments, which are concrete structures, usually steps, built across a beach to reflect wave energy. These are less costly than seawalls, but still very expensive and don't cope well with strong waves. Gabions, on the other hand, are much cheaper. This involves piling up cages containing small rocks and is a less intrusive, smaller scale solution. Rock armour, or riprap, is a series of large boulders placed in front of a cliff or seawall to absorb wave energy. These may move in severe weather and can be quite expensive. Finally, offshore reefs are underwater structures that can force waves to break offshore, reducing their impacts on the base of cliffs. Coming to Peacehaven has admittedly made me quite emotional. Seeing how unsustainable coastal management can be, the adverse effects actions taken in one part of the coast can have on another part, it's enough to keep a man up at night.
There must be some kind of more sustainable, less intrusive coastal management strategy. If such a thing exists, show me a sign! Soft engineering uses natural systems like beaches, dunes and salt marshes to absorb wave and tidal energy. It manipulates systems without changing their fundamental structures. I've come to a site of special scientific interest where beach nourishment is regularly used. In one case, 13,000 tons of sand and shingle was transported back onto the beach. Now, this process aims to replace material lost to longshore drift and leaves very little evidence that any action has been taken. However, it is quite expensive and needs to be repeated regularly.
Dune regeneration was also used, which involved planting marram grass to stabilize the dunes, as this grass has long and deep roots that spread outwards, trapping sand.
Particularly vulnerable areas have been fenced off, and boardwalks have been constructed for those pesky tourists. The strategies here have been hugely successful. Since action was taken in 2009, the dune system has thrived, and may I just say, it's absolutely stunning. Other soft engineering strategies are much more large scale and involve reshaping the whole coastline, which leads me to shoreline management plans.
SMPs were introduced in 1995. There are currently 22 SMPs around the coast of England and Wales, each corresponding to a sediment cell. These SMPs are designed to find the most sustainable approach to managing erosion and flood risk in the short, medium and long-term scales, which can last up to 100 years.
Brighton falls within a second-generation SMP that stretches from Selsey Bill to Beachy Head, which are the borders of the sediment cell.
SMPs provide a framework for separate local authorities to address risks in a sustainable way for the whole sediment cell. They aim to be environmentally acceptable and economically viable, whilst being continually reviewed and updated.
Now, in each area, local authorities have the options to either hold the line, advance, retreat, or do nothing. Now, this is dependent on whether the costs of building defences or indeed maintaining the old ones can be justified. For example, here at West Beach, the cost of defence is justified by the ecological importance of the sand dunes, but other areas aren't so lucky. I've come to Cuckmere Haven, one of Britain's most iconic coastal landmarks. It's featured in many films and TV shows, and recently appeared in Netflix's The Three-Body Problem. But Cuckmere is under major threat. Current coastal defences are crumbling, and as part of the official SMP of the coastline, the government can do nothing about it. It's announced it will no longer fund existing defences, and will let the sea take its course.
And the sea certainly has taken its course. Severe storms have destroyed the wooden groins, rendering them useless and causing shingle to be removed in vast quantities. Temporary defences have been decimated by the waves, including a small concrete seawall built by locals to defend the hillside. But the policy for this area remains no active intervention.
But this has caused major conflict. There are many who want this iconic landmark to be saved. A charity called Cuckmere Haven SOS has raised over £40,000 to build its own defences and is currently seeking planning permission from the council. You can also get involved by using the hashtag #SaveOurCuck.
Do nothing, often the first step in managed realignment or retreat, is always politically challenging, as residents must be compensated and land, which can be agriculturally productive, will be lost. However, it's very cost effective in the long term and can create new wetland habitats, particularly for birds.
Finally, it's time to talk about Integrated Coastal Zone Management, or ICZM for short. Now, this was created by the UN Earth Summit in 1992 and later adapted by the European Commission. It aims to integrate the interests of all stakeholders in managing the coastline.
This is to avoid a previously sectoral approach, where decisions of different authorities would undermine each other and resources would be wasted. In its report, the European Commission stated the coasts are some of the areas most vulnerable to climate change, and many depend on them for their livelihoods. In Europe, around 200 million people live near the coastline. ICZM considers all elements of the coastline, including human activity. Local, regional, and national authorities all have an input, and decisions are re-evaluated if the environment or demands change.
And so, as we reach the end of this gripping saga of coastal management, I can't help but be moved by humanity's resilience at the coast. I mean, with every wave of bureaucratic paperwork and every riveting council meeting, we inch closer and closer to a solution that may or may not make a discernible difference. Well, I better go in. I think the tide's coming in.
Next time on By the Sea, I go to Guernsey.